Up a day. I'm Rob, the Innovation Coach Jackson, and welcome to another edition of the Innovate Guam podcast where we look at all things innovation, technology, and process improvement related to the island of Guam. Like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and IG. My podcasts drop the beginning of each week. Also, look for my Innovate column in the Pacific Daily News the first and third Fridays of every month. You can catch it at guampdn.com. All right. My guest for today's podcast is a young professional who truly embodies the vibrant spirit and unparalleled excellence of Guam's next generation. He is a true trailblazer whose remarkable journey has reversed the so-called brain drain from our beautiful island by bringing his brilliance and passion back home. He's a proud graduate of JFK High School. His academic achievements are nothing short of extraordinary. He graduated summa cum laude from the University of Alabama with a dual degree in electrical engineering and mathematics. But he didn't stop there. He went on to obtain a master's degree in computer science from the prestigious Georgia Tech University. His career took him to incredible heights, working for as a software engineer for not just one, but two different Fortune 500 companies, as well as working for a thriving fintech startup company. Yet his story is much more than just one of personal accolades, um, advancing the career ladder, or making lots of money. His heart has always belonged to his island of Guam, and his love for Guam has motivated him to return and ignite the spark for technology in our local community. Today, he is on a mission to equip the youth of Guam with cutting edge skills in coding, software engineering, cloud computing, and back end web development. His vision, quite simply, he wants to establish a nonprofit technical academy that will prepare Guam's workforce to thrive in this rapidly technological world. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm, enthusiastic welcome to somebody I consider the epitome of young Guam excellence, Mr. Jordan Elizaga.
Thank
Jordan,
you, Rob.
how are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. It's a beautiful day outside, beautiful island. Doing great. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm just tearing up hearing it.
No, thank you so much for being a guest on the Innovate Guam podcast. So, are you ready to get into it?
Let's do this.
All right. So, we have a tradition here. We always start off the podcast with some icebreaker questions. The purpose is to kind of get a sense of where your head is at in terms of innovation and technology. So, the first question I have for you is, what is your definition of innovation, and what does innovation mean to you?
The definition of innovation to me is providing technological advancements, economic advancements, or any sort of new advancements using creative ideas, using marketing, using all these different tools to provide new services or goods that propel the public good.
Outstanding. So, second question. Um, what is your favorite innovation or technological advancement or piece of technology in the last several years?
There's different technologies for different innovation cycles. When I was growing up, the biggest innovation for me, my family, and my education, and my generation, I guess the millennials, I was born in 1996. And it was not the birth of the internet, but the growing of the internet. This is when Google came out, the dot-com era cycle happened, but it didn't affect Guam as much. And this is not something I knew at the time. I was still 5 years old. All right, we were paying with credit cards or using the internet, but we were still on landlines. I still remember wiring up to like a dial-up modem, and we've come a long way since then. The technology we have today for the internet is wireless. We have it on our cell phones, and it's provided to everyone across the island and obviously across the world. But when we talk about our island and what our island's technology needs are, the internet has provided the information, the ability to communicate in ways that we haven't been able to before. Almost everyone is connected right now. From the early 2000s to 2025, almost everybody has a cell phone and almost everybody has access to the internet, to this wealth of information that exists. And I think that has been spectacular. Talking about eras, that was in the early 2000s. What I've noticed in the next era, around the 2010s, after the big fall of the financial markets and everything, was a new era of technology during the 2010s. And this era was the era of SaaS companies. SaaS was very popular 10 years ago. SaaS is the acronym for the word software as a service. What it means is in the past, we had search engines like Google. We had applications like MySpace, but we didn't have a lot of services and applications that helped businesses. It helped technology specifically. We could find more technology tools. We could work more in the digital world. We could apply to what I did, apply to universities through technology. But what we saw in the mid 2010s was the growth of delivery drivers, Uber, Lyft, all competing to disrupt certain markets. We have Grab in international spaces. These specific applications were made to disrupt markets that already existed. And there's this whole cycle of technology innovation that happened in Silicon Valley. They got very popular. A lot of media surrounded it. And I just graduated high school. I wasn't ready for this just yet. But I was aware that this was a big thing. Social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, started to grow in this software as a service environment. And what we have from the early 2000s QuickBooks to what we have today is insurmountably different. Back then, it was very manual. The interface was a little clunky, a little hard to use. But when we file our taxes today, our business taxes using QuickBooks, it's as simple as clicking a button, exporting it to an Excel sheet, and generating reports from those things. Back then, there was a lot of manual processes involved, and we streamlined those processes today. And finally, the era of 2020s, we had a short bout with blockchain and crypto technologies, just to let that out there. But today, most of the momentum in 2025, and as I predict in the next year or two, is coming from large language models, which is a subset of AI. These large language models help us predict based on a prompt. I know here we're getting a little technical, but we ask these models a question, simply, what's the weather outside? Or even something as complicated as, how would I create an annual report with this given budget? And AI is coming a long way. It's coming really fast to solve these problems. And what I predict in the next 5 years is this wave of SaaS that happened in 2015 will apply itself today in 2025, but the technologies that will be developed become faster to be created. They'll happen, the technologies will be created faster, and there's a lot more services that not necessarily will be disrupted, but will be optimized, and the processes will become quicker and leaner. I know we're going to talk about this somewhat later, but I want to emphasize the importance of that innovation, is that this is the way that we are looking at today. And instead of always being in the past, meaning back in the 2000s, I learned about Google on my own. I was on my computer learning about these technologies. And by the time I graduated college and came back to Guam, the technologies really hasn't changed on the island, but in the mainland around California, I saw the technologies as it grew. So today we have an opportunity to bring these past technologies, and instead of keeping them in the past, we can modernize and bring them to the future and continue to build as we progress in that timeline.
Hey, Jordan, I love that answer. That was a great overview and putting things in different eras and show kind of the development and evolution of technology over the decades. And putting it in perspective of Guam and where Guam is to kind of show the future of where we could go. I really love that answer. So thank you for that. Third question. Um, Tell me about a particular innovation or piece of technology that surprised you, if you will. What I mean by that is maybe when it first came out, you thought it was dumb or stupid or strange, to say the least, but now it's something that you can't live without.
I'll be a little bit honest here, and it's a tough question for me to answer because I enjoy all types of innovation. What innovation really is someone putting their creative work or a group of people putting their creative work out there and trying to see if it sticks, trying to see if other people enjoy those type of software. Kind of flipping it around, I was very interested in blockchain technologies and the capabilities of blockchain in itself. It was a large network of trust and all these tools built into it, but it came to like talking about software eras during the pandemic and early 2020s, a different way of using technology, not for good. And I was afraid about AI
Hold on, let me
going in the same path.
interrupt you before you go forward. When you say using technology not for good, you mean like what you saw in the early era of Bitcoin, where a lot of criminal organizations were using it to hide funds or do their transactions under the radar. Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean. And there's also in the political news of FTX, a large
Yeah,
cryptocurrency organization that has a lot of scandals on it, and they're currently or are already prosecuted by the Department of Justice. So that is some technologies that I was disappointed in because the underlying technology is supposed to protect people. It's supposed to build trust
yes.
through a network that's trusted, and it wasn't used for good. And what I was afraid of when I was studying AI around the time I was graduating college and entering the workforce, this was model training. This was in the nascency or the early years of large language model development. Back then, it was just a fun thing. It could tell us the weather, but it couldn't help us create like an analytical report back in 2018, 2019. And when things started to shift and people really started to invest in it, companies across Silicon Valley and across the world started to put the greatest minds to this piece of software and all the data that we have gathered during the era of SaaS models, having all the social media platforms and choosing those to train models. I know it gets a little technical here, but the point is, I see the good. And the good of that is we shift a lot of the manual and tedious work that can be done by a computer to the computer. And by that, I mean, we don't do calculations by hand anymore. We use an Excel
Yeah,
sheet and we drag that list down.
yes.
This tool with AI is very similar to that Excel sheet that a lot of people work with today. Instead of having to do all this connections, all these processes, we can reduce the time needed to create applications and to make more business processes efficient using the AI tools today.
I
This
love
is the
that.
flip. Yeah, yeah.
I love that example, and I really love the analogy of Excel and how to use the power of the spreadsheet to kind of reduce and improve the efficiency of your number crunching and stuff like that. And you take that over now and being able to use that in the same way to improve software development, coding, or this business processes in general, being able to use that same kind of automated approach that's very user intuitive in order to execute on process improvement in everyday life. I love that.
Great. I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Awesome. So let's get into the meat of our IG discussion here. So here at the Innovate Guam podcast, we're really interested in the island of Guam's innovation, technology, and economic development. And with the coming technological explosion with the fourth industrial revolution, we want to explore what is needed for Guam to succeed. So the way we look at this is we look at it from three different facets. The first facet is workforce development, i.e., what do we need to develop the workforce for the future technology? Two, technology development and deployment. What specific technologies can be used and deployed here in Guam to uplift economic development or improve efficiency or improve quality of life? And then finally, government policies and initiatives, i.e., what can government do to kind of facilitate all that we've been talking about here? So, with your background and your vision of a nonprofit tech academy or tech institute, we're very interested in hearing what you have to say about workforce development initiatives. Feel free to talk about and comment on any of the other facets as well. So, the first question is really about workforce development. Tell me about this vision you have of standing up a tech institute serving the young people of Guam, and tell me how you came to this vision and what motivated you to develop this vision.
I'll start with what motivated me to start this vision. And I'll be frank, the current career path for going to school and having a job as an engineer is to become a manager or maybe climb the corporate ladder and provide services to the shareholders of that company, or if they're a private company, whatever the legal structure may be. I felt there had to be more than that. It was obvious to me that I could build these services to their needs as needed. And in a more concrete term, it's like being in a manufacturing plant or factory and being able to build a widget. Either design the widget, create the widget, put the widget or the product to the people and sell the product. Well, the most that someone can get out of that is the value created and offered to people. So if we create a valuable product, then a lot of people can use it and it's great. But it only benefits the company, in my opinion. And as we talked about earlier, it's great for the individual, it's great for the career, and it's great for succeeding for those whose aptitudes are geared towards that. Maybe they want to build the greatest products everywhere. They want to be the greatest engineers. I saw my path as I could be in the top X% of engineers, or I could be a great manager to help people and other engineers with their careers. But it would only serve one company at a time. My motivation today is I wanted to help more than just a single company, a single organization. And I could have started in the US, where the opportunities are abundant, the opportunities are vast, and there's many places and many other people to help. But I asked myself, where is the need?
Wow. Yeah, where is the need?
The US and many other countries that work in technology, I'm talking South Korea, Japan, Singapore, the Philippines, Thailand, Australia, Europe, like the Euro, what is it called? The Schengen area.
Yes.
Are creating technologies today, and the need exists, but there's also a need here on Guam. Guam is my home.
Yes.
Guam is where my family is at.
So you can tell, Jordan, this is really a passionate area for you, that it's all about kind of bringing your best and brightest back to your home to make your home better. You know, it's something that is deeply personal to you, deeply emotional to you, deeply something that you believe in and want to do, not just about money or climbing the corporate ladder. It's about how do I make me, my community, and my people better. And I love that about you.
Thank you. You put a lot of that into the words I cannot express. I'd like to express them, and that is the mission of this nonprofit. We are not bringing people from the States over as we do with consultants and other contractors. We're going to build from the ground up. Rather than call it a grassroots movement, it's an island movement.
There we go.
I live in an agricultural zone, a farm if you must.
Where is that? Tell me about where you live.
So I was born and raised in Dedido. I like to share more, but
Shout out to Dedido.
out here in Dedido. It's funny, back then the districting was a little bit different. I went to school in JFK. Ukudu was recently built, but I would take the bus every day. Our bus would I'll take the bus. Our bus would pass Ukudu on the way to JFK. So that's just like a little funny thing that I remember from back then. I was like, why am I not going to Ukudu? It's like right here. So
ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but ladies and gentlemen, this is real. This is real. You see this young man's passion and his heart out there on wearing it on his sleeve about what he believes in terms of vision for Guam, vision for Guam's young people, and really getting them involved in the technological revolution. And I tell you, it excites me when I see this. So again, I'm sorry to interrupt again. This is real. We haven't staged this. This is genuine emotion and realness here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Going back, I live in a farm, and I know what it means to grow seeds that grow and blossom into plants that produce fruit, plants that produce beauty, and plants that produce shade. Like an old proverb saying, the best time to plant was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And I see that in education for technology and training today. What that looks like is we currently, I like to use the analogies that we currently don't provide those services to ourselves just yet. And the plan is to do so. I'm making an analogy to the
you're talking about
technology services, including application development for the businesses of Guam, and for businesses and for offering services to companies and countries outside of our island. Without getting into too much detail, it's actually codified into law that some services and some companies can be considered according to Title 11, Division 2, Chapter 26 of Guam Code Annotated. Companies can be organized as an export trading company, which is any person, partnership, association, or similar, whether operated for profit or as a nonprofit organization, which does business under the laws of Guam and organized and operated principally for the purposes of one, exporting goods or services produced on Guam, or facilitating the exportation of goods or services produced in the US states or Guam by unaffiliated persons by providing one or more export trade services. So I think my guess is that this law back in the 90s, 70s, 80s, or 90s was to produce goods that Guam could produce. But I don't see Guam as a strong manufacturing just because of our landmass. What we can produce and what I have seen is the intelligence and our current structure of education that has enabled people like me, my peers, other families to pursue degrees at GCC, UOG, and in the mainland or any other country and be successful in those places. The capacity is here, but the opportunities are not.
Yes. So I love the way that you framed the set from the what was coded in Guam law. That basically it probably was thought of at the time of this is kind of sets the foundation for maybe some Guam unique merchandise, uh, arts, trinkets, cultural effects, etc., that we could start exporting and really highlight the culture of Guam. And then that might lead into manufacturing opportunities, both on those cultural specific kinds of products and items, or other manufacturing that's being invested on the island. But what you're saying is in the 21st century, with this new economy, instead of always thinking about it in terms of a physical product, think about it in cyberspace, that you're out there and you're using the brains and the creativity of the people to deliver software products that operate in cyberspace from Guam using Guam brain power, Guam knowledge, Guam abilities of its people to make things happen. And that's a great kind of model that you don't necessarily need to have a product in. The product comes from here and it exists in the world of cyberspace in order to make trillions of dollars of value happen, whether here on Guam, in the CONUS, or someplace else in the world. Have I got that right?
Absolutely. And that product, instead of calling it mind power, it is service. Instead of providing a good, it's a technology service.
Yeah.
Initially, technology today, but in the future, this nonprofit aims to provide design services. We have beautiful clothing here on Guam, beautiful designs. We have beautiful trinkets, and those were to be designed somehow, some way, and we could compete in those areas and provide opportunities to provide more services to others: engineering services, design services, construction services. Technology, what I'm talking about is this 21st century. The internet, as we discussed earlier, has enabled this service shift to happen, and it has not been captured yet to our benefit.
Hey, so that's going to lead me into a follow-up question here, and it's kind of a multi-part question. So, being born, raised, and educated here on the island Guam, tell me about what tech education resources and experiences you wish you would have had that would have made you a better software engineer and entrepreneur. And then two, follow that up with what you think is needed on the island to shape this mindset and this paradigm of services, software services that exist in cyberspace that Guam can manufacture, if you will, and export to the rest of the world.
One example that is near and dear to me is Facebook. Facebook disrupted MySpace at the time, and it had a lot of media and marketing behind it. And it actually inspired me to create my own web application, start learning CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Now, at school, these services weren't provided. These services were really talked about. These things were really amongst friends. When we were designing our MySpace pages, that's where we kind of learned it. We learned it because of our interests and our hobbies and our community that wanted to, share our profiles and our networks together. It was challenging as I had priorities. I was in sports. I was really focused on going to college. I'm a family, going out to parties and everything. Just really enjoying like the youth I had, and the resources were just not available at the time. And I'm talking 2010s, 2012, 2010 to 2014 when I was in high school. What I wish existed in those times were just resources that I want to bring here today. And what that looks like is the schools provided, it was their mission to provide us with technology advancements for the 21st century. Very vague, but important. It kept us focused on the changing economic landscape, the changing technology landscape. But the meat of what was needed to accomplish that wasn't there yet. It was still growing. And as I look today, a lot of programs on Guam have integrated using Zoom to connect with their students, to offer classes through Zoom. We're using technology in ways that we have never used them before, but it just took a while.
Talk a little bit more in specifics about the meat, as you said, the meat of the technologies that were missing.
The meat of the technology, meaning how exactly does the technology work? Where does the technology come from? And how can we use these technologies in creative ways that can satisfy the business or needs of our island? Really, what we could have created at the time is accounting software that helps Guam businesses. We could have created a rideshare at the same time that Uber is being created. It exists now, but it comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
So that
okay.
Having technology classes or opportunities, within meaning as workshops or outreach programs that could be provided by existing organizations, didn't exist at the time, at least at the time that I was studying. There was computer literacy classes, but they only taught the basics of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And to be able to service the global markets, as well as CONUS and other markets in this technology industry, it needs to be more than just providing spreadsheets and PowerPoints and Word documents.
So talk about those specifics a little bit. Go into those details about what's missing and what you want to bring in terms of that technology education.
What's missing is a payment platform for Guam, for example. Stripe exists.
Outstanding. Sorry. Outstanding. I'm getting ready to say hallelujah, brother, and all of that kind of stuff. As a brand new entrepreneur, I am feeling the pain of not having a Stripe, a Plastique, a Minlio, all of these different payment platforms that exist and are well used in the United States that are not available here in Guam. And I'm like, how do we not have that? So sorry for the introduction. I'm feeling the pain as a brand new entrepreneur that this isn't available here on Guam. Go ahead.
That is exactly my point. Services like this, for some reason, that don't support Guam, but we feel these small businesses, these entrepreneurs on Guam that want to provide their services, that want to help the community. To start this in the US is so easy. Just put in your address, put in your bank account, and it's done.
Yep.
In 5 minutes, it's set up. We are a US territory. We're part of the US. We cannot do the same. I want to find solutions for that. And I have started this process. I called 3 other companies. They're called ISOs or MSPs. They're service providers, if you will, or independent service organizations. There's different layers to the payment system that we could plug into on the technology side. And tying it back into, what they taught in schools, they don't teach this in school because it's a very unique, advanced skill set, but it's needed. It takes so much time to learn. With the tools now, it will be a lot faster. But it's not something that can be done in a day. Like I set up a small net to catch a golf ball kind of deal. Like these projects, like setting up a canopy, those can be done in a day. Cooking some food and selling as a food truck and all these services, these can be done realistically. It has physical implications that we can see and the business can get right away. The issue we have with technology on Guam is that we just cannot see it. We have to be on a digital space and cyberspace. We have to be on a computer, on our phones, on some kind of interface to access these services. And these services require power and all these things that are just not physical to us. So part of the challenge we're facing today, and I'd like this to be said here, is I want to change that. I want to change the vision of what is an app to, I have an idea for an app, let's build it. Equivalently, it's saying, we have real estate. I want to build a building that services these people. That building is that app. We will have people that know how to build the building. And we will also have people to know how to utilize the building and the real estate.
Yeah, Jordan, I love that. And I tell you, those fintech examples that you brought up are huge. I've been talking about that for the last several weeks. It's not just the payment processing and stuff. I mean, it even goes to things that are basic as Wix and Square space, where you don't have the full um, capabilities to integrate that into your business. And that's huge for an entrepreneur. But also, all of these up and coming banks and lending organizations who are cutting through a lot of the normal bureaucracy and allowing capital and credit available to new businesses. They don't operate, and their software doesn't operate here in Guam. So I've been working with investors back in the States, and we've been frustrated, pounding our head against the wall because all of the different sources and all of the different banks that we're dealing with, trying to go in, putting in my information to try to access capital and credit, they don't do business in Guam. And it's only because that's the way that the fintech was designed. They left Guam out of that. So therefore, if you're an entrepreneur on Guam, you don't get the benefits of those things. And think about how limited you are in terms of success if you don't have the access to what entrepreneurs in the United States and other parts of the world have.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Rob. And to add to that point, the financial services left Guam behind, but they didn't leave Puerto Rico behind. We have the same political status. Why don't we have the same why don't we have the same financial benefits? So those questions were rhetorical. My vision and my mission as of today is not to talk about it. We know the fact of the matter. It's how do we get that here today? And what that
Yes.
looks like, and I'm getting to the meat of it, can be very detailed. But essentially, I go back and forth between the US to maintain software contracts and other services that I offer there. However, there are financial conferences. Atlanta is part of the Federal District Reserve. The Federal Reserve has one Federal Reserve for their district in the Southeast.
Yeah, and it
I
also
worked at
seems like in it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it also seems like Atlanta is kind of like a burgeoning location for all things fintech. Is that true as well? I mean, I know we've got the traditional, Silicon Valley, but it seems like around Atlanta, there's a lot of fintech development and stuff that's going on.
exactly. Bank of America has its headquarters in Atlanta. They have the Pencil Building. A lot of these banks have started in Atlanta, and not just financials. We have energy, Georgia Power, which over their umbrella is headquartered in Georgia, and they provide power to all of the Southeast. But the point I'm making is we still need to put a lot of effort into physically being with the decision makers that are capable of telling us what political processes we need to enable these services. That's where I need help. That is not my expertise. My expertise is in hearing the technological challenges that we face to implementing those solutions on Guam and making them happen.
I hear you. I hear you. So you've kind of touched all over pieces of my next question, and that's really your for-profit side. Uh, you have a business called Guahan Software Services LLC, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you're doing with that company and on the for-profit side. You've kind of hit on pieces of it, but can you talk about that, what you're doing with that company, and how that relates to your nonprofit side?
Absolutely. The for-profit company, Guahan Software Services, is as plain as the name itself. We simply provide services in technology, specifically software today, to businesses on Guam that need these technologies. The demand, to be frank, is low, but it exists. As technology needs increase, the demand will also increase. And the way that this ties into the nonprofit is that those who complete the training programs, projects with the nonprofit will be able to work on the projects for Guam businesses that enable these technology solutions. These software applications, whether it be on the web, meaning web development. Right now, people understand what a website is. Everybody can go to a .com and use the application. It can be built through these different providers, and that's fine. Those are tools that get the job done. There are specific needs like the Stripe payment process that doesn't just use a plugin to enable payment processing. They do have plugins, but they just don't support Guam. So there we have business challenges and technology challenges that we need to solve before we can get it here on Guam.
So can I interrupt you for just a second?
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. So tell me about why you think it is that there's such slow adoption here on Guam. Why it seems like businesses are used to just kind of operating the way that they are, particularly when there's all of these different options that I talked about before, that I knew about as a brand new entrepreneur, but yet I don't have that available to me here in Guam. Can you talk about why there's not a faster adoption rate here in Guam for the businesses on Guam to want to these basic kind of things, get them adopted, incorporated into their business processes so that they can make things more efficient?
I have a few guesses to why that may be the case. Let's go back to the eras that we talked about. When the .com bust happened, Guam wasn't affected. When the financial housing crisis happened, I did not notice. When the technology surge, the SaaS surge of 2015 happened, it didn't even cross my mind when I graduated high school until I was out there. So it's a two-part question. One, Guam, stating as a fact, the market indicators and factors are isolated in Guam. And back then it was with tourism. We consistently have military buildup and development, which shields us from a lot of the economic wins that we see. Today, that has changed for whatever reason. Today, I also came back and just noticed that I'm looking for others to help with this idea and this mission and this vision. But it's slow. It takes time. And we need more people who are not just aware. I've worked with some organizations here already that they are offering trainings for AI. They offer trainings for how to use modern technology tools. But what's needed is an understanding of those tools, which I'm trying my best here, but it's like building a house, like building applications. We need people to know how to build a house. We got carpenters, electricians, journeymen, general contractors doing all these things, but we have a lot of experience in those things, and we continue to apply those things today. We don't just buy a building and get it shipped to Guam. It's not possible. But we can buy technology and get it shipped to our computers. It reduces the need to understand how these things work. It reduces the need to get deep into the software, into the technology. And because we're a level away from that, away from building it, we get left behind.
I love that answer. I love that answer. That was very thorough and really gets to the heart. I'm hoping that through platforms like this, the Innovate Guam podcast and other kind of forums, we can get this word out that we can be better and we can go deeper, if you will, so that we improve efficiency, we improve quality of life, and we build a strong foundation for new and other ways of economic development.
Absolutely.
So awesome. So let's talk about the last facet. Is there anything specifically with government policies and initiatives that you want to talk about? I know you hit upon a little bit of that before, but is there anything else with respect to government policies and initiatives that you want to talk about?
At a high level, a lot of services on Guam, government services, economic policy, and other laws enable education in ways such as providing land grants with the EOG, trade services and education with GCC, the Guam Trades Academy. We have existing architectures in place that the programs that we're offering, the Guahan Tech nonprofit and the initiative and organization, hopefully, to partner with these folks and provide our courses through these avenues that exist right now. And if possible, education funding that happens through the government, through grants, as we do with our other services and supply needs. For example, we have housing assistance, we have food assistance, we have educational assistance as well. And so a piece of the picture is requiring more education assistance specifically to cater for the needs of technology. It's just adding on to the existing processes that we have today. I'm not looking to shake things up on Guam. I'm just looking to keep us up to date with what is needed in the technology landscape today.
Absolutely. And I love your thought process with that. Instead of trying to be the lone wolf and create something or recreate pieces of what's already out there, to collaborate with folks that are already there. And I will tell you that last week's guest was Mr. Bert Johnston from the Trades Academy. And I was just so impressed with his approach to running the Trades Academy. It's very entrepreneurial. It's very outside of the box. It's very speedy and stuff. And I'm sure after we get off the podcast here, we could talk offline, because I think these are the things that excite him, the ability to be able to maybe offer this and push these kind of high-tech courses out in pursuit of uplifting Guam's workforce. So love everything there. So appreciate that answer. All right. So with all of that said, I will tell you, Jay, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your vision and your real passion for the island and all things Guam. You really are, I think, a benchmark and a model for young Guam excellence. Everything that you've done in your educational as well as company careers. And I look forward to all the great and wonderful things that you're going to do. Uh, as I've said before, if there's anything that I can do to help you, both on the profit and certainly more importantly on the nonprofit side, to advance your cause, I want to be a part of, and I'd like to help you, because I think it really starts building that foundation that we need to successfully ride the wave of this technological tidal wave that's coming. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Rob. And let's talk offline about the specific details of what needs to be done. But for the channel, for the podcast out here, let's start with the people. Let's start finding people who are interested in helping their family and their community.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that. So again, genuine passion for the island, genuine passion for your people. And that's what I love about you, Jay. And I look forward to working with you some more. For my audience, I hope you learned something today. Watch my podcast dropping weekly at the beginning of the week. Follow me on all social media platforms. And don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe all of my content. And please read my Innovate column at guampdn.com the first and third Fridays of each month. See you next time. And remember, no matter whether you're at work, at home, or at play, always innovate. Thank you.